Hello everyone and welcome to The Fields. I'm your host, Jeff Rouse. Our sponsor for today's episode is Max's Butcher Shop. At Max's Butcher Shop in Florissant, Missouri, we're your one-stop destination for all your meat cravings. We're not just a butcher shop, we're your culinary partners. Whether you're looking for steaks, brats, prepared meals, or you have a freshly harvested deer to process, we've got it all. And don't forget our deli selection. Choose from an array of meats, cheeses, and handcrafted sandwiches. Max's Butcher Shop in Florissant, Missouri. Visit us today and savor the difference. My guest today is Melissa Kahn, Executive Associate Director of MoCann Trade, an organization working to build safe and compliant medical and adult use in the cannabis industry. Melissa, thank you very much for being a guest on The Fields.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeff. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Very welcome. Could you please provide a more in-depth explanation of MoCann Trade and its guiding principles?
I'd be happy to do that. So, MoCann Trade was founded in 2018 in advance of medical marijuana passing in our state. It was formed by a group of individuals that were planning to apply for medical licenses. And they saw an opportunity to come together, share knowledge, and build community amongst one another to ensure a successful medical program here in our state. Flash forward to today, where we've not only expanded our program from medical to adult use, but we have to date blocked any bad legislature from coming through that could dismantle our program. So we've protected the program. We've served as the voice of the cannabis industry here in our state very successfully, and we continue to create an environment that fosters community, that also helps, as a rising tide raises all boats, if you will, philosophy. So working together to share knowledge that can move the industry forward.
What are some of the other goals that MoCann Trade has set for itself in helping to reduce the stigma around cannabis?
That's a great question. We're always actively working to continue to break the stigma, but I would definitely point to the fact that Amendment 3 passing as a great sign that we are doing a good job breaking that stigma. But I have to give credit to, our dispensary operators in the state. Those frontline workers are really the reason why we are where we're at today.
How does your background in marketing and development contribute to your role as Executive Associate Director?
That's a good question, too. My background, so I studied in my undergraduate degree in international business with an emphasis in marketing. I went on to get my MBA also in marketing. From there, I've got 8 years of experience in the marketing field working for small startups in the tech industry and cannabis industry. My bread and butter is, bringing brands to market, developing those brands with a winning marketing strategy that has proven results and track records. And so I think that really gives me an advantage in my role with MoCann, just because I've been on the other side, dealing in the regulations and rules, particularly relating to those marketing things like product packaging. So I have a deep-seated understanding that really puts me in a unique position in my role.
What kind of obstacles have you encountered working in a predominantly male-dominated industry?
There are a lot of male-dominated industries, so it's something that I've had to navigate since the beginning of my career. And I will say, now I look for organizations that really embrace diversity and equity and that really truly give their employees a voice. And being somewhere where I feel like I'm being heard is really important to me. And MoCann Trade could not be a better fit. I really, truly have been empowered in my role. I'm heard on the daily, and I'm making moves. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Now, how have recent changes in state law allowing recreational sales impacted the overall industry in Missouri?
So if you look at medical sales in January of this year and you compare them to February and March, there's a vast difference. We went from 30 million a month in sales to 122 million. So that is a pretty good indication that it's been very successful. I believe that could be accredited to the already successful medical program that was in place that made that transition very smooth and seamless. So, the law allowed for existing operators to convert their license to be able to cater to both medical and adult use patients. Streamlining that really was effective in the rollout.
So now that there are rec sales alongside medical sales, how have market dynamics and consumer behaviors shifted these past 8 months?
Yeah, so I think there's more to be discovered on this topic as data gets released and those trends reveal themselves. But I think, just from basic knowledge and understanding, there's going to be differences in what a medical patient might prefer in terms of method of delivery, for example. Mm-hmm. They may not choose to partake in an inhalable, but maybe adult use consumers prefer inhalables. I think there's more to come on that, but I would say probably the biggest differentiator between the two is the tax rate. So medical patients will only pay 4%. They will never pay more. That additional taxes cannot be added to that. Whereas the adult use patients going to pay the 6%, and then in municipalities or cities where voters voted for adding an additional 3%. They can do that as well.
Do you think consumers are going to be okay with those additional taxes? This is Missouri after all, and people like as low taxes as they possibly can.
I think for those that are super price conscious, it may make sense to get that medical card. And one advantage of the passing of Amendment 3 is that medical card is now good for 3 years versus 1. So it may be beneficial to taking advantage of that lower tax rate.
I just got my medical card renewed. Shout out Bell Health. All right. Are there any distinctions between medical and recreational cannabis products?
There is only one distinction, and that is made at the point of sale, and that is whether the medical tax will be applied or the adult use tax will be applied. But other than that, the products can serve both markets simultaneously.
So a 3.5 of flower is the same medically as it is recreationally, no difference.
Correct.
That's a question we get asked fairly regularly at the dispensary, whether there's a difference in those two products.
I think that's because in other markets we see there's a division of the medical program from the adult use program, and it's different streams of product coming to market as well. Yeah.
Now, speaking of packaging, how will new packaging regulations passed by the state impact the branding and marketing strategies for cannabis businesses?
This is a hard-hitting question and definitely relevant to what's going on right now. So I believe that if you look at the timeline that it takes to get your packaging through approval, what's going to happen is it's going to take much longer to get new products to market, which is going to only stifle the innovation and progression of our industry here in Missouri. So I think that really makes it difficult, especially from a marketing standpoint. If you're trying to order product packaging, you have to wait for that design approval before you can even place that order, which just continues to extend that timeline. So now you're looking at potentially anywhere from 4 to 6 months to get a new product to market.
So you think it is to the industry's disservice that we have a more restrictive rules for packaging we have to follow? So the 2-color model isn't that good because didn't they do that so it's less attractive for kids?
Yes, I believe DCR's North Star at this point is public safety, and I believe that they feel that these rules help to meet that requirement.
Do we know if this is unique in the industry, what Missouri is doing, or are other markets trying this more restrictive advertising policy?
We see this happen in other medical markets. I can't say for sure with certainty that we're seeing this in other adult use markets. Typically, when a market shifts from medical to adult use, the rule regulation set tends to become less stringent. But in our case, I think that maybe there might be a little bit of a lack of understanding the business as a whole in order to make that work in a way that's going to benefit all in the situation.
When do you think the cannabis industry as a whole, whether med, rec, Missouri, the whole globe, are going to start following a uniform set of rules for packaging and labeling? Because right now it kind of feels patchwork.
Yeah, and that's because each market has their own set of rules and regulations around packaging and labeling currently. I think it's a great goal to work towards, but considering the sheer number of markets within the U.S. currently, it's going to be a process that takes time.
Do you envision that something MoCann Trade adding to their plate?
So MoCann Trade currently is really focused on the Missouri market. We do have our members of a national organization that I believe has efforts that is making efforts towards that goal.
We need to see that because the food we consume, the labels all look the same on the back, so we know exactly where to look on there. I feel we need to do the same thing for cannabis.
Yeah, I think it would definitely benefit consumers. It would make the buying process much more simplified if there was a unified labeling process.
Simplified, and it would show greater trust in the industry as a whole that they took the time to inform the people about the products they're consuming.
Yeah, anytime you have the opportunity to educate a consumer, we should definitely be going after those opportunities as much as possible.
Well, speaking of patchwork laws, California, Oregon, and Washington initiated cross-border interstate commerce of cannabis. Now they're saying they're going to allow it if federal legalization ever happens. Do you think because we have Oklahoma and Illinois on either side of us, two very robust markets, should we be doing the same thing, laying the foundation?
It's a good question, but I think it's really putting the cart before the horse. Obviously, no matter what kind of plans are put into place, there's not anything actionable until things change at the federal level. So until Washington takes action, it's not even worth entertaining or putting effort.
Really? No, not even? Because, for example, Wana has promised itself to Canada. They're selling themselves to a Canadian company once federal legalization happens, laying the groundwork in anticipation of federal legalization, because I think we can both agree that that's coming down the pipeline.
Could potentially. We'll have to wait and see what happens in Washington to know for certain.
Well, Safer Banking Act, hopefully they can get that passed.
That would be great.
All right. Considering the relative youth of the Missouri market, how do you envision its evolution in the coming years?
I think we're going to continue to stabilize as a market. As an industry, I think we're going to continue to grow and flourish with innovation and new product form factors. I think we've seen in our market already, just from medical, the proliferation of these Missouri brands. A majority of the brands in Missouri right now are born and raised homegrown, which I'm super proud of. I mean, as a Missourian myself, that's really cool. As a marketing professional, that's amazing. That is definitely, I don't know very many other markets that can say the same.
Well, I'm not going to ask you to pick your favorites because that wouldn't be fair. But when you consume cannabis, do you have a preference for the type?
I do. I prefer flower. I like the full entourage of effects, and so flower is my go-to. That's not to say I don't dabble and try other form factors. Pretty much if it's being produced in Missouri, I've probably tried it at some point. I'm very curious about other, different form factors and, different flavor profiles. All of our cultivators are cultivating different strains or strands. And so I like to kind of dabble to see, what my body says, oh yeah, I need more of that.
Do you prefer to combust or convect your flower?
That's a good question. Combust usually. I like to smoke out of a glass piece versus I'm not a pre-roll girl, if you will, although it is a convenient form factor. But yeah, sometimes.
Any hand rolling skills?
I do.
Oh, okay. We're going to have you come back the next time we do the Field State Joint Rolling Contest. I don't know if we've done that yet. Maybe we should.
For sure.
All right, this is going to seem kind of out of left field given the way we've been talking so far, but do you truly believe in the indica sativa hybrid paradigm?
It's funny you bring that up because the little gift that I brought from you is our latest T-shirt, and it says profile over potency. I'm not a big fan of the indica sativa hybrid labels because they can be misleading. For example, a lot of people say indica in the couch, right? It's going to give you couch lock, you're going to feel drowsy. But for me, indica speeds up my heart rate, or some strains do. So I have to pay attention to the terpene profiles to really understand how my body's going to react.
And plus, that's just some of the over 500 plus chemicals found in cannabis. Recently, they talk about thiols are what's truly providing the aromatic qualities more so than terpenes are. So we need to start educating industry professionals and bud tenders about those, and even more chemicals that are found in cannabis are going to be coming down the pipeline. So I'm excited to see what develops in this industry.
Yeah, I think that's why flower's my favorite. You get all of it.
That's going to do it for another episode of The Feels. I'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, Max's Butcher Shop. Savor the difference at Max's Butcher Shop in Florissant, Missouri. I'd also like to thank our clothing sponsor, Humble Rain. Be fiercely driven. Importantly, I'd like to thank our guest, the Executive Associate Director of MoCann Trade, Ms. Melissa Kahn. Melissa, thank you so much for being a guest on The Feels.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. And thanks to all of you out there watching and listening around the globe. Till next time, I'm Jeff Rouse. Have a great night.